Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm using two different Lawn Fawn stamp sets. First I have the Summertime Charm and I'm going to be using the mason jar. So I'm going to stamp this on a piece of Coordination's 110-pound cardstock, and I'm stamping this with my Tuxedo Black Memento ink. So I'm just going to go ahead and ink this up really well, and then I will stamp it onto my cardstock. And then from this Lawn Fawn stamp set, I'm going to be using the tree and the smaller gingerbread man. So I'm going to go ahead and ink that up and then stamp it down onto my cardstock. And then I'm going to ink up just the other gingerbread man once again and then stamp that down. And then I'm going to go ahead and color these in with my Copic markers. So I'm coloring in the tree with the YG61. And this is kind of my base layer, so I'm just starting with the lighter color and coloring in the entire tree. And then I'll go in with the YG63 and add a little bit of shading. I'm just flicking this color in from the edge. And then I'll use one shade darker, which is the YG67, and just add little bits of that onto the tree. And then I'm going to go back in with the YG61 and blend all of those colors together. For the tree trunk, I'm going to be coloring that in with the E23. And then for the gingerbread men, I'm using the E31, which is a really light brown color. And then I'm just coloring in those gingerbread men with just that one color. And then for the top of the mason jar, I'm using C1. And then I'll add little bits of shading with the C3. And then I'm just going to go back in with that C1 and color over the entire thing once again. And then I'm going to go ahead and fussy cut these images out, and I did leave a white border around the edges. So next I'm going to create some snow within that jar. So I have this Wow embossing powder, and it's a white puff powder, so it kind of creates that image of snow. So I'm taking my Versamark pen and I'm just coloring this in onto the mason jar. And you can create whatever pattern you want with this, but I'm just coloring in the bottom, and then I'll go ahead and sprinkle on my embossing powder, and then I can go ahead and heat that up. So you can see how it puffed up underneath, and then some spots missed a little bit, so I'm just going back in with my Versamark pen and adding some more, and then I'll sprinkle on some more embossing powder and then heat that. So next I'm going to glue my images into the jar. So I'm just using the multi-matte medium. First I'm going to glue down the tree and center that right in the middle of the jar. And then I'll glue down both of the gingerbread men on either side of the tree. Next I die cut some stitched rectangles using the Simon Says Stamp dies, and I die cut these two pieces from the Winter Wonderland 6x6 paper pad by My Mind's Eye. I'm going to go ahead and heat emboss my sentiment on this snowflake piece. So I'm using this Lawn Fawn stamp set once again, and it says "Have a Sweet Christmas." So I'm going to go ahead and line these up on the bottom of my card, and then I'll pick it up with my clear acrylic block. I'm going to stamp these down with the Versamark ink and then go over that with the white embossing powder from Hero Arts. And then I can go ahead and heat emboss that with my heat tool. Next I'm going to go ahead and assemble my card. So I'm putting the snowflake piece right on top of that striped candy cane piece. And then I'll go ahead and adhere this down to my white A2 size card base. And all of the supplies I'm using on this card will be linked below if you're interested. They're also going to be on my blog at tracymay.com. So then for the mason jar, I'm going to pop this up with some 3D foam squares. These are the large ones from Best Creation, and they are my favorite foam squares because they're really affordable and they stick really well. Plus the backings are really easy to get off because that's one thing that really bothers me. And then I'm just going to adhere that right in the center of that cardstock piece. And then that is my finished card for today. So it's a really simple card using some Lawn Fawn products and pattern paper. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure that you're subscribed to my channel if you're not already, because I have many more videos coming out and you're not going to want to miss those. Thanks again for joining me, and I will see you back here next time. Bye everyone!